100%.
I love it. And, you know, it's the top of the hour, so we definitely want to stay on track. But I'm super excited with our guest today. You know, it's somebody that's been in the industry for 30 plus years. He's a hairdresser, but he's also the chief operating officer at John Paul Mitchell Systems. And if you did not have the opportunity to hear his Facebook Live on Ulta Beauty, we will make sure we share that link where that is. He just had such great things to say and always represents, you know, John Paul Mitchell Systems so well. So he is here with us today, and that is Jason Yates. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here. Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Jason. Oh my gosh, this has been a dream come true. And thank you everyone for joining as well today live. And I know many of you are listening to this recording as well too. And I loved that Facebook Live. I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to watch it again. And I'll never forget, Jason, the day that I met you and the first time you spoke to the Paul Mitchell School owners. And I'm like, where did they find him? So first of all, I love your accent, and you just are so full of so much wisdom. And I knew that you're going to be such a blessing to JPMS and Paul Mitchell Schools, and you have been, and you are. And I know you've been working so hard during this time. I call it quarantine that we've had, and we've all been working hard, especially all of us leaders. And I love the mere fact that you started the conversation with that JP pledged $4 million in stimulus funds. Talk about that, because that's the only company that I know of that has done anything like that. And it just makes me JPMS proud, so proud to be a part of Paul Mitchell, even more so. I fell in love more with the company, even through this quarantine, and realized, you know, what they had to offer us. So talk a little bit about that and where you came from. How did we get you?
Okay, I'll answer the first one, how we came up with the stimulus program. So obviously COVID-19 took us all by surprise, right? We were in the midst of planning and executing our plan for our 40th anniversary, which was 2020. And overnight, like all the salons on the call, our business pretty much just shut down. Middle of March, we started to see countries going offline, and within a week, everything was shut down, and our business went from 100% to we lost more than 90% of everything right away. And we were still trying to figure out what to do, what was going on. And the first thing that became quite apparent is we're not going to be able to do gathering. We had such high hopes and big plans for this big celebration and launching our sustainability pledges and our new clean beauty line and celebrating the culture and the heritage. And we realized that's not needed anymore. That's not what we should be doing right now. And what we should be doing is helping our customers. Their business stopped completely overnight. They don't have the insulation that a big company like John Paul Mitchell Systems have. Often, you know, they can only plan a few weeks out, maybe a few months, and their businesses stopped completely. At that time, we didn't know what kind of government aid would be there for salons. So we made a call. Actually, I made a call to John Paul, and then I followed it up with a call to Angus. It's a great thing about having accessible owners who care. And we said, we're not going to be able to do gathering, and we'd like to redirect some of those funds to be able to put together aid package, a stimulus package for our salons. And before I'd even finished my sentence, JP said, do it. Do whatever you want to do. Get with the team. Let's make it happen. And I followed up with Angus to make sure Angus was cool. And Angus, right away, absolutely. Same answer, which is incredible, right? That's why I think we were able to move so quickly, where a lot of companies were more concerned about self-preservation rather than their customers. Of course, we're concerned about self-preservation, but we realize without our customers, we don't have a business. So very quickly, we put the program together. I'm so proud of the team, because we did all of this amazing work from home. You know, we were all working away in our own homes, creating lots of programs for salons, from stimulus programs to ongoing promotions, which would help them. We worked with all our distributor partners. We put together tons of collateral material. We built social gathering. If you don't know what that is, go to Paul Mitchell Pro and check it out. We did all this in such a short period of time, and it's just incredible. I'm extremely proud of working for this company and working for such amazing people, and also really proud in the team. You know, we rolled our sleeves up and figured out ways to do things we didn't even know we could do. So yeah, it's been an interesting few months, but not saying I'd like to go through it again, but I think we're stronger for it, for sure.
Yeah. And so I want to touch on a couple of things that you said, but before we do that, where did we find you and how did JPMS get you?
Okay, so well, the beauty industry kind of found me. So yeah, you're right, Sean. It's actually, it was 30 years last month that I've been in the industry. So I started very young.
You're 31.
Yeah, so I'm from England. I became an apprentice at a group called John English Group in England. They had 22 salons. I finished high school when I was 15 and started an apprenticeship. So just gave my age away. But yeah, I just always loved this industry. You know, started as an apprentice and stayed at the company for 12 years until in 2001, I came to the United States. It's a long story, but I was working for a competitor of John Paul Mitchell Systems. And how I came to John Paul Mitchell Systems, of course, I was very aware of the brand and admired it from a distance, loved what they were doing, loved what they were about as a hairdresser. But our largest distributor, BSG, was also the company that I was working for, was the largest distributor. And the president of BSG at the time, his name was John Gollier. I don't know if you know him, he's very well known in the beauty industry. He said to me, "You're a good guy. I love to put good people with good companies." And he said, "There's an opportunity that's coming up at John Paul Mitchell Systems." And Luke had called John Gollier and asked him, "Do you know any good marketing guys?"
Wow.
So yeah, so John Gollier recommended me to Luke, and me and Luke had a call with Michaeline, John Paul's daughter, who's very much involved in the day-to-day running of the company. And you know, I flew out here, and they offered me the job on the spot, which kind of caught me off guard because I was living in Texas at the time, and I really hadn't planned it out, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be offered the job. And of course, Luke wanted an answer like right away. And I said, "Can I discuss it with my wife?" And flew home. And the same day I got home, my wife said, "You haven't stopped smiling since you know, since she came through the door." She said, "I prayed about it before you went, and this just feels right." So we just went for it. I said yes, and it's the best decision that I ever made in my career, for sure. And I've been happy ever since. And it's about 8 years, a little over 8 years now. Can you believe it? 8 years?
No, I can't. It feels like yesterday and that I met you, and I think it's amazing. And so basically, this is interesting. So you went from England to Texas to California.
Yeah, culture shock. Yeah, I went from England to Houston.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And you haven't lost your
Then
accent.
to Los Angeles. So it's gradually gotten better. I love Texas. You know, my wife's from Texas. I love my time there. I was there a little over 10 years. Have many friends in Texas, but I do prefer the weather in California.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I know a lot of people from California actually move to Houston. Yeah, they usually, because it's cheaper, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I had not only a culture shock when I moved to Texas, I had a culture shock in the size of the home that I could afford. So I came from England, where I lived very, you know, small home, and I came to Texas, and the same money I could get like a mansion. It was awesome. And then it went back the opposite way when I came to California. I ended up living in the studio for the first year. So
oh my gosh,
that's a good test on your marriage.
For sure. Yes, if you can make it through that, you can make it through anything. Something that I love that you said, because these are all salon owners and salon leaders that are on these calls, these webinars, and I loved something that you said, and I think this is so important, an attribute, an accessible owner that cares. And that was huge because you don't want to have to make your team, you know, so I'm talking as an owner, Sean's talking as a partner with me, but also as a CEO like you, is going through that process of what does that feel like to be able to have an accessible owner that cares, and why should salon owners take on that attribute, and what do you think they need to do to make that happen?
It makes such a huge difference when you have an owner that you can pick up the phone and call them and be honest with them and be real with them, and they get it, they understand, they care. It's huge. I don't feel like I have to sell John Paul too hard on ideas. You know, he really has a good understanding of our industry. He understands salons, and he understands what's made John Paul Mitchell System successful. And I think that's the whole reason why I'm in the position I'm in. There's not many corporations this size. In fact, I can't name any that has a hairdresser as a COO. And it's not just me. We have we have a good blend. We have a number of hairdressers that are at the executive level throughout the company. And I think it's important that to really understand and know your customer. It helps if you have hairdressers that are in the boardroom making decisions. So JP really listens to the hairdresser voice, and you know, that's important to him. So it's really, really super helpful. And I would urge anybody that's a salon owner or a school owner, you know, I hear Wynn talking the same story from stage when he's talking to the school owners. You've got to keep involved with the business. You've got to show the people that work in the business that you're engaged, you understand how they feel, that there's an open door policy. They can come and talk to you. And, you know, JP's this incredible larger than life person. He's a billionaire. He's got many, many things going on. But the first thing he asks you every time you call him, are you okay? And is there anything I can do for you? You're like, wow, can you believe that? As busy as this guy is, the first thing he does is cares about you. And as an employee, it makes you feel great, you know. And I think as a salon owner, that's the most important thing that you have to be able to be for your team, is be accessible and allow a safe place where they can be honest with you.
Yeah, and I put that down as number two. What's your recommendation to build that safe place as an owner? So give some leadership lessons that you feel, because you ran 22 salons. So obviously you built a lot of safety. And I know a lot of our salon owners, so Sean and I do a 6-month course because they want to scale their business. They want to continue to grow that business. And so first and foremost is, how do you do that? You got to build safety, right? So that your team is honest with you.
I think key words is follow up. You know, you have to follow up and do what you say you're going to do. Trust is a two-way street. So for them to trust you, you've got to trust them. That's really, really big. I think it's important as a leader that, when I think back to my salon management days, when I was thrust into management early in my career. I mean, I was a salon manager when I was like 19. I was still trying to figure out life, and I was put in charge of huge responsibility. And I remember my first reaction, and I think it's always a good manager always remembers what it felt like when they were being managed by others and what worked for them. But I remember, I want to be the coolest manager. I want everybody to love me, you know, and that didn't work too well. You know, everybody loved me, but when it came to listening or for me to be able to motivate people or have those tough conversations, they just didn't respect me. So then I went the opposite way, and I kind of became a little bit too much of a tyrant. I was like, I'm going to distance myself. I'm not going to be friendly at all with people. And I ended up really becoming more of a manipulator than a motivator, which was not good as well. And I think you have to be able to get people to respect you first. So leading by example, keeping your word, following up, doing your homework, making sure you know everything that's going on in that business is really, really important. But to me, the key is when the team respects you, but when they also like you as well, even better, right? So just because you have to lead. Doesn't mean that you can't be a nice person, doesn't mean you can't care about the team. And, you know, over my time in management and leading people, I always try and keep that fine balance where you want to be accessible, you want to be friendly, but you don't want to be too friendly. You know, for me, I have to put a little bit of distance between me and the team. You know, I love them dearly, I care about them, but you know, you have to have that little bit of space. But yeah, I think follow-up is big. I have a rule of always trying to get back to people within 24 hours. To me, if I can't get back to somebody, I get about 300 emails a day. And, you know, it's very rare that I don't get back to somebody in 24 hours. And I think that's huge too, because it shows people that you're important to them. And if you don't get back to somebody straight away, what message does that send to them? So if that's somebody reaching out verbally or through an email or a text message, or just make sure you take the time to follow up. It'll make your life a lot easier in the long run. And getting that as a discipline is a great discipline to get. Goes a long way.
Yeah, no, that's really, really powerful. I love the 24-hour rule. And I think all salon leaders need to write that down right now. I think that's probably one of our biggest challenges with our leaders, Jason, is getting them to follow up within the 24 hours. And then also coming up with a good system for that as well too, because I mean, I had to actually read a book of how to make, follow-up charts in my email so that I could do that. And I actually got a little bit better this year. And so you can't have an excuse like, oh, I don't read emails or I don't, respond that way. And because it's the best way to be able to make that happen. And so following up, I love that you said that. And then I want to stay on for a minute because this is probably the biggest challenge that I see when we coach salon owners, salon leaders is they call their team family. And I understand that because I feel like we are a family, but you got to be careful of how you're saying that because you also said be friendly, but not too friendly. And I call that, building solid, appropriate relationships with your team. Let's stay on that a little bit more because one of the things that I hear often from salon owners is like, I'm held hostage by my players on my team. And so you hear this so much. And I think it's probably one of the biggest mistakes of becoming a people pleaser versus a people challenger. So talk to salon owners right now, help them navigate this and how they can make this happen in their life.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially if you've gotten to that stage where you are super close and like you almost don't separate friendship from business because at the end of the day, it's great. You are a family, but it's a business and you have to run it like a business. And that means, you have to direct people when you're leading that salon and you have to have sometimes tougher conversations. And, I mean, if you're in the place of where you're very friendly with the team and you have to move away, I think maybe the best way to approach that is during a review where you have a one-on-one with a person and you start to set some boundaries in place, because you can't blame the team if you haven't set clear boundaries and, that I think as a leader, it's your role to set expectations. And it can be challenging when you move from having no boundaries to setting boundaries, but you just have to be disciplined with it. And I think having regular touch bases with people is really, really important. With all the people that work directly with me, I always make sure that I have at least once a week where we have an hour dedicated to sit and talk and meet. And the one thing that I do, and I expect from my team as well, is to come to the meeting prepared with a list of things that they want to talk about. And I'll have a list of things that I want to talk about. And that's a running list. And that helps keep me on track. And I think it helps keep them on track, but it helps to hold them accountable. And it helps as well for them to remember what's expected of them, by having something written down, some kind of follow-up rather than just a discussion.
Yeah, so no, that's great. I
That's
think
what
that,
helps. So if you're not having, if your relationship with your team is very much like a friendship thing where you all just come to work together and you're really not separating yourself as the leader from the rest of the workers, I think it's important that you start to say, hey, let's start meeting once a week, whatever that right cadence is for you. Let's start meeting just the two of us, and I'll have a list of things that I want to go over with you each week, and anything that you have that you'd like to go over with me, let's start getting into the pattern of doing it that way. And that's pretty much how I run the team here. That's how we work, and it works very well.
I love that, Jason. And so let's talk. Okay, that's great for a small team where you can meet one-to-one with a small
Right.
team. And
Right.
so what Sean and I, we train to do organization charts, much like we do in the Paul Mitchell schools. And
Sure.
so this way you're giving an opportunity for someone to hold another position in your company as well too. So it kind of gives them an opportunity for a career path. And, you know, through that process. And so where Sean and I, we've just focused on our salon leaders and our salons. And we've noticed because we did that, we were able to scale a lot quicker, you know, versus, you know, me trying to meet with 15 people,
Oh,
you know, that would be so hard. So kind of talk through that process. Like, how do you select your number one guy or girl, you know, through that, so that you can pour into their life and then they can in turn pour into someone else's life. And what I love about you, Jason, and the company is that you guys are real careful about who you hire. Like, you hire really slow and you're really protective. And I know for a fact that Luke was really protective of our company before he hired you, but you came well recommended too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk about that hiring process too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think you make a good point about trying to manage too many people. If you have a salon of 4, 5, 6 people, I think 6 to 8 direct reports is about as much as somebody can handle with quality. You know, I 2 years ago I had 16, just because, you know, we were being careful about hiring people and we were looking for Pete. When Pete came, it was a huge weight off me, and I was able to focus on, you know, on less direct reports. But absolutely, I think you should know what that number is. For you, in my experience, I think 6 to 8 works well for most good leaders. And how you choose those people, I mean, there's a couple of ways you can go about it, depending on what position you find yourself in your salon. First of all, I always love to look inside. I always look at the team that I have to work with. And the qualities that you want are not necessarily, you know, the busiest stylist or the one that has, you know, sells the most take home. You really want the person who, in my opinion, is, try and find the right words here. The right person for me as a leader is somebody that's calm, somebody that's a good listener, somebody that's not too emotional. You know, those are good qualities to look in to people that you don't know what they're going to be like as a manager, because probably if you're sitting on a team of 10 people and you really haven't put that org chart together and that structure, it's hard to know. So you have to look for different kinds of qualities. So, you know, anybody that's super emotional, I don't think they make good leaders personally. Now, it doesn't mean you can't work with them on that, but maybe that's not the first place that you go to look. And I think what happens a lot with salons is they tend to pick the busiest stylists and put them in management roles, which usually can be not good, because they don't want to give up anything. They want to continue to be busy, and they're distracted. And, you know, you've got to find the person that's able to realize if they are a busy stylist and you're going to give them more responsibility, you have to be able to work with them and tell them to delegate some of their clients, you know, some of their guests to other stylists. What else do you look for? It's tough. You want some experience. You don't want somebody that's, you know, too green, but then again, somebody that's been a stylist in the same salon for a long time might not necessarily be as flexible to adopt new ideas. So I don't necessarily tend to go on seniority. And I don't go on somebody that's brand new. If they're very good in the beginning, I like to kind of take my time, pick somebody that's got some experience, but somebody I think is going to buy into what I'm trying to do as the leader, you know. So it's, I don't think there's one formula, but I think those are the types of qualities. And, you know, trial and error, try something out. And when you try something out, tell them, hey, we're currently in the salon, you know, I'm the manager and everybody reports to me. I'd like to change that. I'd like to empower some of the people to be involved in the daily running of the business. And, you know, we've identified you, Tina, to take on some more responsibilities. I want to work with you through the next 3-4 months, and then let's see how it goes. Let's see if it turns into a new role within the company, and let them know that it's kind of on a experiment basis, rather than, you know, you put everything on this one person, build them up. You're the manager now, and then crash and burn, and then it's, you know, it's tough. So,
yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Yeah. Something Sean and I've talked a lot about is being careful not to give away titles too easily.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so like, let's set you up for success. Like, let's just go slow through this process. And that's really, really, really powerful. I definitely, and I love that you sat down and you said, these are my non-negotiables. I want to have someone that's really calm, a good listener, and not highly emotional. How do you look for that quality? Because I think in this industry, you see a lot of people that are high emotions, right? In particular. And, you know, you have, I am a DISC personality trainer, Sean is as well, DISC. And so those eyes, if you will, they're the party people, and that's usually hairstylists as well too, you know? And so, but they can be very highly emotional as well through that process. So kind of talk about that. I'm a high I, of course. And so I've had to learn emotional intelligence. I'm still not there, right? I'm still growing through the process, but I am invested in it. And so talk about that process, what that looks like, and talk to that salon owner right now that is that high I as well. And how can they grow their emotional intelligence so they're not reacting to things and getting upset and that sort of thing with their team?
Yeah, I think the best thing that I've learned is to, it's called like a magic minute, you know. Take a moment. Usually if you want to react to something quickly, it's not coming from a place of careful thought and knowledge. It's a reaction which is usually stimulated through some kind of emotion. So um, if we've got salon owners on the phone that know they're emotional and know that they often speak without really thinking about things, I just pause, take a pause, get into the habit of taking a moment, pause, think about what you're going to say, write it down. That helps me. Maybe if you don't like to write things down, record what you're going to want to say to somebody, and then play it back and listen to it. You know, that's another way of seeing through somebody else's lens and not through your own. You know, so that's something I'd recommend for salon owners to do. And then as far as how to spot that, listen, I think a great place to spot things in the salon is a busy Saturday, right? When things are cranking and people are running behind.
Oh, that's
You
good.
can see some people just handle it better than others naturally, and some people just kind of don't handle it well. And I would probably not go to them first to have more responsibility and leadership. And if you see somebody doing something really that you admire in the salon, like, I'd celebrate it and say, you know what, I know how busy we were on Saturday, and Tina, you just impressed me the way that you you handled it so smoothly and so calmly. And I know, could have been an emotional time, but you diffused everything and handled it so well, because then you're acknowledging the person, but if you do it publicly, you're also acknowledging what you see as good behavior. And I think that can be super helpful.
Wow, that's really powerful. Now I know why we chose my daughter to lead our salons, because she is that calm, great listener, and she's not like emotionally up and down. She's very steady, and under pressure, when she gets squeezed, she stays real calm. And everyone calls her a duck on water. you know, and so her feet are moving fast, but she looks really smooth and she's, you know, going through the salon. So I love that you said that. So I think it's really identifying the right people and looking at those non-negotiables that you have as well too. And
Yeah.
again, you know, I talked to salon owners today. We just finished out our 6-month course today on fixing your hiring. And I said, you know, to them, I said, you've got to write down what are those non-negotiables for you. And I love that you identified those. And so those are the things that you're going to be attracted to. And so kind of going with, I love the fact too, that you talked about having tough conversations, and I call them hard conversations because they're hard. And so talk to that salon owner, that salon leader, how do they go about getting better at having those conversations? Because I'm on a lot of salon owner pages, Facebook pages, Jason, and I can tell you this, that hardly any of them are having the hard conversations. They're actually having them with other salon owners. And then they're all like berating their entire team. And it scares me because that's, you know, that's not going to solve anything. Like, you need to go to your team member. And I think it starts with what you said, fixing your communication. Do you have a communication plan first and foremost? What does that look like? And if you don't fix that first, but then talk about that hard conversation, give advice to that salon owner leader.
Yeah, well, you absolutely have to have the hard conversations. And I definitely recommend you have the hard conversation with the person and don't talk to other staff members about it, because I've certainly witnessed that down the years where somebody in a leadership role is maybe not happy with somebody in the team, and the worst thing you can do is talk to another team member about it. You have to address it with the person. And during those conversations, depending on your comfort level as a leader and your comfort level with having the tough conversation, you probably want to write down or record exactly what you want to accomplish during your conversation. So the way my mind works, I like bullet points. You know, it kind of keeps me in order without writing a ton of things in front of me. Knowing what you want to say, but having something that keeps you accountable to say it in the way you want to say it. So bullet points with just a few keywords for me help steer me through the conversation. So if I wanted to have a tough conversation with somebody, I would first of all, you know, call a meeting. I would let them know that, you know, there's a couple of things that I want to address that we need to talk about regarding whatever it is, your performance. And I would go through everything on my list and have the conversation with them, as tough as it might be. Now, depending if it's a conversation that requires like discipline, if it requires discipline, then that's a different kind of different kind of meeting. It's not so much one-on-one. I would recommend, if you're disciplining somebody, to always have somebody else there as well to make sure that there's a witness to what was said. And you need to have some kind of record of the meeting and some action outcome steps, and I would have the employee sign it to make sure that, you know, they have observed what you wanted to do, and whether they agree with it or don't, that this meeting took place and they were present. But if you're just talking about regular business type one-on-one meetings where you have to sometimes have a tougher conversation with somebody for whatever reason, I recommend writing everything down, really thinking carefully about how you want it to go. The worst thing you can do is call the meeting, especially if you're emotional. So if you're upset because they did something and now you want to redirect, I wouldn't do it right away. I'd think about it from a leadership standpoint. So if somebody's done something that they need redirecting on, definitely have the meeting, but don't have it in the heat of the moment. Take some time, calm down a little bit yourself as a leader. Think about it rationally, not emotionally. And then write your feelings down, your thoughts of what you want to say. And if you have another senior member of the team that is in a management position, discuss it with them. It's always good to get another opinion before you go ahead and have that tough conversation. But you got to have them, because if you don't have the tough conversations, then you know, nothing changes usually.
Yeah, I think we've identified a lot of things of what's going to make or break your salon company as well, you know, through this, and it all goes back, stems to communication. with each other. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing right now, not only with myself in our salons, but with the salons that we're coaching, is they're so busy right now because everybody just got back from quarantine, right? And then we have a million clients to take care of, is to be careful about that. So talk your advice to salon owners right now, because I know, I'm seeing, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like A and B team where they used to always be together. Now it's going to create some disunity happening on the team. Yeah. And so we have to almost develop a whole new communication plan, an entire business plan. What advice do you give salon owners right now as they navigate this new reality?
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking through this myself with our team here because of social distancing guidelines. You can see I'm back in the office. We normally have 85 people in this office. There's like 5 people today. Mm-hmm. And we've deemed that only about 20 people a day are comfortable in this office for the social distancing guidelines. Now we're allowing the team to work from home, and we're very connected through Zoom and through Microsoft Teams. But the one thing that I'm nervous about is we have a wonderful culture, and that culture was built from people being, together, working as a team. And we're working together, but not physically together anymore. So I think the same thing for the salons that are split up into A, B teams. I think it's important that we gather the people together, even if you can't gather them together physically, you gather them together virtually, and continue to have that dialogue and give them a chance to share with the larger team. And I would ask them, how's it going for you? How are you feeling about working in smaller teams? Just keep the team connected, because if you just allow it to be an A and a B team, then you've now lost what you had collectively together. Also, what you might want to do with the A and the B team is mix some of the people up. So it's not just this team and this team. You just shift people between both. That way, you're kind of keeping people seeing people, as opposed to now we used to work in a big salon. Now we work in a big salon with half the people, and we don't see the other half. You can still get them to see each other just by rotating those teams as much as you can. So we're very much going through that in our business right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a new reality that we have to navigate, but we cannot sweep it under the rug. And it can't go, our motto is people before profit. And so are we putting the profit again before people because we're trying to keep the doors open? I get it. I totally get it. I know where you're frustrated, but just be careful, right? It's just, that balancing act, if you will. And so you said something really powerful, Jason, and I want to stay on this for a moment, is really protecting your culture. And I have to say, we'll spend an entire month, but a lot of our salons have had to spend an entire year on this, is building a written system of their culture, because you have a culture, whether it's written down or not, it's there. So talk about the importance of that, of having an established written culture for your salon that you have, because that's going to make or break your business. And I think most salon owners focus on marketing strategies and whatever they can get their hands on to get more clients in the door, but they're not thinking about the type of vibe or the culture that they want to attract into their door as well.
Yeah, I mean, the culture is the most important product that you have to offer. It's if you're just a salon that's offering hair services and you're spending marketing dollars on advertising, and there's no story, there's no reason to believe, people don't want to belong, then you definitely need to establish that. To your point, everybody has a culture, whether they realize what it is or not. And I think as a leader, you have to steer that culture, you have to live that culture, and you have to make sure that the team understands what that culture is. I agree that you should have something written down somewhere that's posted for all to see on why Tina's salon, why Jason's salon, why Sean's salon, what do we stand for, what do we care about, what's important for us, what's non-negotiable. And even back in the days when I was in the salon business, we had a strong culture, and we had, we had a vision statement that was, I mean, I'm talking 25 years plus ago. We had a vision statement that was posted, not just in the staff room, it was posted proudly, on the door when you came in behind the reservation desk. And, it spoke to what the company stood for and what they strove to do. And it was reinforced regularly throughout the team. And people, the company I worked for before had that great longevity where people didn't leave. People stayed for many, many, many years. And I think that's because of the power of the culture. And very, very important that you identify and think about it. If you're the salon owner, why would you work for your business? What does it offer? Beyond the salary and the benefits, like why Tina's salon? Why Jason? And once you've found out what that right message is, then you've got to get believers. And again, during this time, it can be very easy for people to just put their head down and try and get through the work, and they forget about the culture. And especially if the teams are not together anymore and they're not meeting like they were, that's super important to protect. If you built it up, don't lose it. Try and figure out ways to keep the culture fresh.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, keep the culture fresh. I love it. That's what we're navigating right now as we speak. I love those questions that you said, because I think those are great questions to write down right now. What do you stand for? What do you care about? And what are your non-negotiables? And, when I first started this process, we would ask our clients because we didn't know. And we wanted to see what they saw. We wanted to see what they were thinking. And so we started to ask them these questions. We started polling them, and we started getting some things out of them. And then once we started to build a momentum with that, then we started working with our salon team and asking them what they thought. And then we started to develop this. So there are a lot of salons out there, Jason, that don't have anything, but that's okay. You can start now, and you can start this project. It's fun. Make it fun. Talk about John Paul Mitchell systems, because it's the biggest I totally believe black and white, and it's because of the culture that you guys have developed. And so what do you care about? What do you stand for through your process? We know some of your non-negotiables as well too. And something that I love that you guys were one of the first companies really to step up and not be silent about Black Lives Matter and how we can be so much better. And that was so attractive to me, because that's exactly everything that I have felt from day one. So talk a little bit about that and about the culture and why you belong to this culture that we have with JPMS as well.
Yeah. So obviously with, what's been happening with the Black Lives Matter movement over the past 3 weeks or so, it really, becoming, very, very important moment in time. As a company, we believe we're a great company. We believe that we really care about all human beings. We care about the planet. We care about doing the right thing. But when we started to see the Black Lives Matter movement become stronger, we really wanted to be very, very purposeful of how we responded. And we wanted to also be vulnerable, because we didn't pretend to know all the answers. We didn't pretend to know exactly what to say. We didn't pretend to know how Black people were feeling in this moment. And we wanted to take some time to reach out to our community of Black people that work within the John Paul Mitchell Systems world and within the school network. And it was a humbling experience for us. We really learned a lot. And I think right now is all about listening and learning and trying to be better. I think we're an amazing company, but can we be better? Absolutely. And you only learn when you stop thinking you know everything and you ask other people opinions. And we've been doing that a lot the last few weeks. And I'm pleased at what we've decided to do over the past few weeks. And I think some of the things we're putting in place is going to really help change in the future. And you know, John Paul Mitchell Systems is going to continue to be a company that I think innovates in the professional beauty industry, and we will continue to lead as much as we have before. And the one thing that we continue to do and we must do, and what this has taught us, is to continue to listen and to outreach to the larger community.
Yeah, I love the stance that you guys have taken, and the first and foremost is education through the process, and that's something that I love about JPMS. It's all about education, and obviously I'm with the schools too, and so I get to be privy to educating ourselves, and so I just want to thank you so much for standing up for that and not being silent, you know, through the process. And so I think that's another great attribute of a salon owner, is to not be silent and to speak up. And I remember during quarantine, there was the first 2 days, I didn't come, Sean knows this, I didn't make any statements or any videos or anything to the team. I was just in shock for 2 days. And so I kind of had to like figure things out. And I'm like, Tina, you need to get out of bed and you need to make a statement here. You know, I didn't know where to move, you know, and so just like going within and, you know, coming up with something that I could tell the team from my heart, and being vulnerable, being transparent. I don't know all the answers. That's okay. Talk about that, why it's such a great attribute for a leader to not be silent, that you have to speak up.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I think any leader leads by setting an example. So if you're feeling as a leader scared and not sure what to say, then you can guarantee the people who are looking to you feel the same way, but they're looking to you. So it's really, really important that you don't be silent, that you have a position, but also, to your point, your reaction to COVID, taking a couple days to kind of really think things through and think about it. And what we were talking about earlier today, you know, these things are very emotional, and you'll have an initial emotional reaction. And I think it's always better to, this is something that, you know, Luke Jacob Ellis really well. Anytime you ask something of Luke and he's not quite sure, you can never get him to answer right away. He always says this, let me sleep on it. And you know what, that's something that I've started, you know, to really do more and more. And, you know, you always make a better decision, almost always, after you take your time and sleep on it. So, you know, advice to anybody is don't be silent. You have to have a position, but you also can buy some time to make a good decision and a good leadership choice. You know, don't feel pressured because you are the leader to make a quick knee-jerk reaction, because that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be a gut knee-jerk reaction, and you may get it right, you may not. So as a leader, you have to be very careful to make sure that you say the right thing, that you do the right thing, that you model the right thing.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I think to Wynn's point, he always says, you know, ready, fire, aim. And but I know sometimes you have to ready, aim, fire, you know, but don't aim too long, because sometimes it's aim, you know, and then you've been silent for too long. And so there is kind of like that balancing act. So talk to that salon owner, salon leader right now that, you know, is always aiming, you know, and which is great, but be careful about aiming too long. You know, you've got to take a stance.
Yeah, that's the part of balance which good leaders learn. You know, it's okay to take a pause and to think things through, but ultimately you have to make a decision. And you know, the amount of time between being too fast and perfect or waiting too long, I don't know. But yeah, when you're in a position of leadership, people are looking for you to lead. So can't be silent. I wouldn't recommend a quick knee-jerk reaction, but I definitely recommend you to act and lead and do something. If you wait too long and you're trying to figure everything out and look for the perfect plan, I'm trying to remember a saying, something, the perfect plan executed eventually is not as good as a good plan executed now, or something like that. But it's really relevant. I wish I could pull it. I'm not good at doing that, but it's definitely relevant. As if you take too long looking for perfection, you actually probably never ever do anything. Where if you've got something that's almost perfect, then go now.
I love that. Almost perfect. Yeah. And I think, as I navigate and I raise up future partners in our salon business, because that's our salon model, is a lot of times we'll have team members that are really highly perfectionistic. So I'm always trying to, that's another great quality of have failure parties, so I'm always trying to give safety of fail, please fail so we can have a failure party. And let's, and so now, some of our leaders are like, hey, Tina, I'm having a failure party today. I can't wait to share with you what I did wrong today and what I learned, from doing it wrong, And so talk about that, because I know that's something that's a really great attribute as well, too, is being careful about not being too perfect, but to fail big, fail often, but learn from it, as Wynn always says, don't do it again.
Yeah, inevitably, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. I think the most important thing is, if you're going to fail, that you fail forward. You don't fail and then repeat the same mistake. You learn something from it. It's the opportunity to learn a way how not to do it, right? It's progress. Don't beat yourself up too much. Don't be too hard on yourself. That's I make mistakes all the time, and I think it's important to know when you've made one and learn something from it, and just apply it to the next go around, and that's experience, right?
Yeah, I love that. So during quarantine, what would you say was your biggest lesson that you learned during that time about yourself and your leadership?
Biggest lesson that I learned. Oh, that's a tough one.
Besides that, you need a vacation.
I definitely learned that I need a vacation. Lesson that I learned is being home all the time. It kind of forced me to take up a few hobbies. And one of the things that I took up, I can't believe I'm saying this, as I actually took up like growing vegetables and gardening. And I think
Nice.
part of that came from like, oh man, I might not be able to buy anything from the supermarkets. I better learn how to like grow stuff myself. A little bit joking, but not all the way. But no, I learned that it's important to have a healthy work-life balance, which I know, but I guess my work-life balance was heavily weighted towards work and not so much towards life. Even though JP always encourages it, I just love my job and I eat, sleep, drink, breathe it. But it's actually been healthy for me being home more, because it's kind of forced my hand to like try some different things that I wouldn't have tried. And I actually think it's been a good de-stressor during these crazy times to have, if I'm concentrating on something that's non-work related, then it's a distraction, and it just helps rest that part of my brain that has probably, been overworked the last few weeks, months.
Yeah, no, that's really, really powerful. Yeah, that was our biggest realization of how much some of our leaders can work out of home more.
Yeah.
And I think they feel more confident about that. Whereas in the past, because I would say, please go home, you can do this at home. You don't have to be in the building. And so now I think they're kind of seeing that it's possible. And so I want to end this on the social gathering, because I think it's so awesome, because I think the social gathering offers that opportunity to learn ways to navigate how you can balance all areas of your life. And I think it's really outstanding idea that you guys created. Of course, I have a couple of videos on there too. I promise I'll give some more videos as well too. But Jason, talk about social gathering and what the future is of John Paul Mitchell Systems over this next year or so, what you guys are going to do to expand.
Yeah, so social gathering was like the brainchild of Colin Caruso, who's brilliant. I don't know if you've had him on your show yet, but he's
we have. We love him.
Yeah, and it's just another really smart hairdresser who really, really understands people, and understands how people feel. That's why I think it's such a great leadership quality to be able to read people and be a good communicator. But Colin, again, this was another one of the amazing things that happened during quarantine. Was that it?
I just made it up.
I'm trying to learn the lingo. So yeah, you know, we reacted quickly digitally. We realized that a lot of salons were closed, if not all of them, and hairdressers were at home and they needed some kind of motivation, stimulation. So we pumped out a bunch of digital education, just pure education. And Colin was the one that raised his hand and said, we need to do more. We need to do more for our salons, because I'll tell you, as a hairdresser, I don't want to watch any more how-tos, any more haircuts, any more color techniques. He said, it's depressing because I'm at home and I can't do hair and you're showing me more hair. Like, thanks. So that's just a great example of seeing it through the lens of a stylist. So we talked with the team and identified what are those buckets of support salons need. And that's how we came with the circle. And, you know, the heart in the middle is because we love and care about hairdressers. And then the different areas that salons and stylists are going to, not just during the shutdown, but after, they're going to need those resources. And some of those resources are education, some's mental health, some business, some, I mean, so we went through that. And initially, again, it wasn't strategic. We didn't plan it. We just realized we needed to do it and do it quickly. So we deployed the team, we did it. But this is one of the things that will definitely have life way beyond COVID. And I think COVID is going to change the way that we absorb information, that we communicate with each other forever. I really don't see us going back to the way we were. I think we'll be better than we were, but it'll be different. It's, you know, people are, I think, are who weren't absorbing things online have had to. People who didn't work from home have realized that they can, or they can work some of the time away from home. So I don't think that's going to necessarily go back to the way it was. Certainly our example, you know, we're looking at how our business operates moving forward. And we think a good number of employees will continue to work home at least part of the time, you know, for the ongoing future. So yeah, social gathering really is going to become more and more relevant, and we're going to need to build more and more content. And I love the fact that we're not building all the content. It's our network is building the content, because that's where we get the broadest opinions and expertise is across the network, and just really creating a stronger connection between everybody involved with John Paul Mitchell Systems.
Yeah. What an incredible company to be a part of. And I cannot thank you enough for being one of the major leaders in this project as well, too. So thank you, Jason. What last piece of advice do you have for our salon owners and leaders as we close this out? And thank you so much for doing this. We absolutely adore you. Thank you.
Well, anybody that's listening to this, then great that you're involved with Tina. We love Tina. We believe in you, Tina. There's a reason that people come together, and it's because they have a lot of the same beliefs, and Tina's just a wonderful example of everything that John Paul Mitchell stands for. So yeah, the fact that you're on this cause is a great start. Always, for salon owners, always invest in your education, talk to other experts. Don't ever think that you have all the answers to all the questions, because you don't. And be humble. And continue to love what you do. I truly believe this is the best industry. It's the only one I know, but I love it. And everybody that comes to it from other industries always says, oh my God, I love this industry so much. I never want to leave. And we're very blessed that we get to do what we love. We get to really have amazing impact on people, on all kinds of human beings. They come through our door and 5 minutes in our chair, and they're telling us their life story, and they leave feeling more beautiful and more amazing. And wow, what a great job, and we get paid to do that. It's incredible.
Very true. It is an incredible industry. I love dentistry to do this. So thank you so much, Jason. We appreciate you. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. Bye-bye.